I am Ryan O'Dowd, and this is the Black Hand Communique. Today's episode is called The Mess in Europe. Basically, what I'm going to do is I'm going to explain to you what's happening in Europe, hit on the key points involving the 2008 recession, 2009 recession, Russia's relationship to NATO, and the Greek crisis. All right, first of all, I got to give you a little background that you probably already know, but just in case you don't, I have to lay this out for you to understand what I'm about to say. As you probably know, in the 2009, beginning of 2009, there was a major recession that happened, and the origin of that recession was in United States banks trading shitty casino-style debts on shitty mortgages worldwide. And what they would do is they would take one great mortgage and tie it up into what's called a financial instrument, which basically means a bullshit piece of paper that has a bunch of shitty mortgages, but that kind of average out to it being an above shitty average when they sold it. They kept doing this and packaging and repackaging these things and then trading these packages and then buying and selling them and trading them again. And then they did what was called derivatives, which is basically insurance against a bad bet. So it's called hedging your bets when you do it in the casino. So they would take a shitty debt, mix it with a decent debt, make it a barely almost decent debt, and then sell it again. And they kept doing this over and over again. Then they would bet against themselves or bet against each other. And then eventually it got completely out of hand where something like 90% of the trades were on paper that didn't represent anything in reality in terms of land or value or mortgages or physical actual ownership whatsoever. And then inevitably what happens is they could not make the money come in anymore because they just fucking sold more shit than exists, basically. Okay? So that's what the banks did in the United States in 2007. Oh, they did it from like 2005 to 2009, but it busted utterly in 2009. Brought the entire world's economy down. And I would like to point out, nobody got put in jail, let alone got, the old-fashioned, silver necktie or whatever, right? No one got put in jail for destroying the entire world's economy. But I've got friends that have a court record for stealing fucking Snickers bar and getting caught to it. So, that's the way the world works. What's interesting being rich and poor, poor people are brought justice to them, rich people give justice to others, so to speak. Ha 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 ha. Anyway, so there you go. 2009, mortgage derivatives, United States banks fuck everything up worldwide, and the entire economy of the world goes down. Okay, number two. When that happens, many countries in Europe that were above board, they were in the black, so to speak, suddenly they're in deficit and they're losing money. They're hemorrhaging funds fast. A lot of these countries have sovereign debt funds, and a lot of the sovereign debt funds invested in United States banks and in United States treasuries because those are considered the safest bets in the world. Why? Well, because the United States got the biggest military in the history of the world and will basically kill anyone that tries to stop us, stop them from having control of everything. So it does seem to be very secure if that's what you put your faith in. Anyway, so a lot of these countries will go under. The most famous one is Greece, but Cyprus went under completely. And they had what are called capital controls put on them. Capital controls is Mr. Daddy Bank going to the son who's done bad and spanking them and saying, you can only spend money this time of day, you can only take out money this time of day, you can only take out this many dollars, you can't do it this time, you can only do overseas transfers, so on and so forth. And so basically the entire economy of Cyprus was being run by the ECB, by the European Central Bank, and the IMF, which is the International Monetary Fund. So that happened. Now, Greece is a little bit different story because it went utterly into the red, but it never quite broke so low that capital controls were made permanent or that the entire economy was seized by the ECB and the IMF and the Bank of Berlin. But they didn't get into the black either, so they kind of continually lost more and more and more money until they were given what is called a bailout. But unlike the United States government giving bailouts to the banks here in the United States, they were forced to pay it back on the shoulders of their people, which means that the ECB, the IMF, and the Bank of Berlin, which is called the Troika, forced the people of Greece to simultaneously cut services and raise taxes. So the people of Greece were paying more for a shittier government for years, and that sank them from recession into depression. It made the problem so much worse. That was in Greece. But the reason that they did it is because there's some other countries, most notably Spain, Portugal, and Ireland, but also a little bit Italy, and there's a few others that I'm not as familiar with, who have their own kind of debt problems. And the members of the Troika, which again are the big banks in Europe, the IMF, the ECB, and the Bank of Berlin, wanted to make an example of Greece so that those little guys on the side wouldn't fuck with them, okay? Because basically, the international banks in the world, I'm not talking about your mom and pop little local bank if those still exist. Or I'm not talking about credit unions either. I'm talking about international fucking for-profit interest banks that are both investment banks and the banks that kind of loan money to ordinary people at the same time. Okay, the way these banks operate is they're mafioso. It's like, you ever heard the deal about the protection racket? So the mob comes into your house, bashes your window, and then comes the next day and say, hey, I see someone bash your window. Why don't you pay us to protect you? And you don't pay them because they're like, I don't know who did it, and maybe why would it ever happen again? So they bash your window again, and then they say, hey, I saw someone bash your window. Want to pay us money so you can be protected? And you say, oh, I get it. If I don't pay you, you're going to fucking bash my window. That's how these banks work. They say, oh, you're in economic trouble? We'll give you a few dollars. You want a few dollars? Hey, we'll give you a few bucks if you're in a little bit of economic trouble, all right? Take a few bucks from us. And you say, okay, cool, man, give me some dollars. I'll take some dollars and get rid of my trouble. And then they come back next week and they're like, all right, you got to give us everything we gave you plus double that. And they say, how the fuck am I supposed to have that? I didn't have any money in the first place. So how am I supposed to have twice what you fucking gave me? And they said, listen, we're going to give you a favor for you, all right? Let's say this is the Bank of Berlin. Bank of Berlin says, we're going to do you a favor. I see that the ECB made you charge you twice what they gave you, right? Well, why don't we go ahead and give you that twice? We'll pay that for you. And they're like, okay, cool. You'll pay the bank over there for me? And they're like, yeah, man, we'll do that. So, like, okay, what other choice do I have? I'm broke. I can't do anything else. And they're going to strangle my entire economy. They're going to raise taxes while cutting services over and over again, thereby destroying my people if I don't take this money from you. So I'll take it from you. So you take it, because you have to take it. Because they'll fucking crush you like the mafia if you don't take it. So then the Bank of Berlin gives you the 200 to pay back the ECB. And then next week the Bank of Berlin comes back and says, hey, you owe us 500. You're like, what the fuck are you talking about? You offered to pay off the other debt. And he's like, yeah, but I only offered you to do that so you'd pay me more back than I gave you. And then you're Greece, and you're sitting there like, how the fuck am I supposed to have any money to pay any of you sons of bitches if you keep insisting that I cut services while raising taxes? You're strangling all economic growth in the fucking country while demanding to get more back than you put in the first place. And then you keep on saying that that's the solution to the problem. It's like someone paying off a credit card bill with a payday loan. It doesn't make any sense. It's fucking stupid. It's completely irrational. It's retarded. It's beyond nonsense, let alone, it's bad economics. Any economics professor can tell you shouldn't pay off a credit card with another credit card. And yet that's exactly what the ECB, Bank of Berlin, and IMF are doing to Greece. They're making them pay off a credit card with another credit card while forcing them to cut services while raising taxes. There is not any logic in that. There's no way that an economy can recover while you are taking money from them while they're in austerity. It's impossible. It's perfectly simple, easy to understand. If you have $3 and I'm saying to you, give me $5 or I'll shoot you in the face, and you go to someone else that's willing to give you $5, but then they come back and say, give me $10 or I'll shoot you in the face, at some point, you are going to have to defend yourself against that racket. Because that's what it is. It's a fucking mafia racket. And that's the situation in Greece. And what's really sad is the Syriza party got elected on an anti-austerity promise. And the now world famous Yanis Varoufakis, who was the financial advisor of Syriza, and he's one of my personal heroes. I like the man a lot. He seems very honest, as far as honest is concerned. But They promised to do no austerity. So they were getting their backs pushed against the wall, obviously against the Troika, because the Troika wants only austerity for Greece, because they're the mafia and they're going to get the protection racket going no matter what. So finally, in order to gain some credibility in the international community, the members of Syriza gave a referendum to the people of Greece themselves and said, do you accept austerity measures, yes or no? And the members of Greece overwhelmingly voted no. We don't want austerity. And that was while the Troika was giving them capital controls, which means the banks. You have to imagine this. As an American, it's very hard to imagine. But imagine if the government of Canada and the Central Bank of Canada came down to you in North Carolina, okay? You're in North Carolina, say, and said, you can only withdraw $5 a day. When you get your paycheck, it gets direct deposited, and you can only cash out $50, and that's it. You can't transfer any money in and out. You can't Western Union anything. And while that Bank of Canada was doing that to you, there was a vote that said, do we want austerity? Are we going to pay these people back? Are we going to let them continue to cut our services while raising our taxes? And they were brave enough to say no. They were brave enough while being directly oppressed to say no. And what happens? They crush the spirit of the Syriza party. They say, fuck you. We don't give a shit about your democracy or any democracy. We are global capital. We don't care about democracy, motherfuckers. We care about this, and we care about this. And you can fuck yourself, and I don't care if you have to set your grandmother on fire to fucking pay us. We will get our goddamn last penny out of you, motherfucker, if you gotta sell your own goddamn kidney to pay us, is what they said. And so Yanis Varoufakis, reasonably, I would say, retired. He said, I can't do this. I can't be party to this. Alex Tsipras, the prime minister, gave in, gave austerity to the Greek people anyway. That proves banks don't give a shit about democracy. Democracy is a front to make more money for banks. But when banks have a conflict with direct democracy, it was a referendum. The people said no. They will just smash you to fucking pieces. They don't give a shit. They don't give a shit. Even if their hypocrisy and evil is exposed, they don't give a shit. And that is why you will see me at the end of every single one of these episodes saying, fuck the banks. Because they are the ones ultimately at the top of this fucking charade holding us down. And they would be happy to have you sell your fucking mother for meat if it means they get their 2 goddamn % back. That was called The Mess in Europe. This is Ryan O'Dowd of the Black Hand Communique saying, fuck the banks.